Hey guys, Ryan Fowler with InnerMasculine.com. Welcome to our show today. I see Brent's already here, Mike's here, P-Dubs, Nicholas, EC Smooth, all good friends of mine. Appreciate you guys being on the show today. We're talking about the 9 Iron Rules of Tomassi and how inner game relates to all that. The 9 Iron Rules of Tomassi, it's actually a combination of inner and outer game. So we're going to get into that. Also, tonight I am on John MLD show, Modern Life Dating, 9 p.m. Eastern time. So we're going to talk about how tonight, how inner game, solid inner game creates alpha males, creates sigmas. I talked about a little bit on my show, a previous show. I'm going to discuss that with John Hogwood tonight. And Brent, I just texted you. If you want to be at the show, come on. You're going to be Exhibit A. If not, I'm going to play an interview I did with Brent. But hopefully you can join us tonight, Brent. 9 p.m. Eastern. I'm going to be talking about that and show Brent's transformation in person or a recorded video. Before we dive into this, just be aware, I'm actually working on this today for a few hours and hope to have it done by Saturday. Sunday at the latest, InnerMasculine.com/free ebook. To take advantage of that, go to my website, InnerMasculine.com/free ebook. Pop in your email. When the ebook comes out very soon, probably this Saturday, Sunday, you're going to get the free ebook. Here's a table of contents. Now, I'm going to rearrange this a little, but all the content's going to be the same. This explains how your subconscious mind works. Everyone knows you've heard it before, our subconscious mind. You know, Carl Jung, father of modern psychotherapy, said, until you make the subconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. You guys are going to get the knowledge with this ebook, how to make the subconscious conscious. Now, there's further steps to actually fix it. Carl Jung should have said, until you make your subconscious conscious and heal it. It's not just awareness, it's more than that. But you need the awareness first. This ebook's there's no fluff in this ebook. It's just all straight facts. Here's how your subconscious works. Here's why it keeps you stuck. Here's why you want to do certain things, but you can't. You got resistance. You're self-sabotaging. You're procrastinating. You have anxiety. Here's why you don't feel good about yourself. What's going on with that? What is a subconscious program? How does our subconscious influence affect us? What's going on with that? What are the 5 types of core traumas that hold us back, that don't serve us? 95% of our behavior is dictated by our subconscious mind. It is imperative to get this awareness and to understand how your subconscious works. Otherwise, if you're struggling, you're going to stay struggling probably the rest of your life until you fix this. It's by far, more than anything, your subconscious by far determines what you do and whether you're going to fail or succeed, whether you're going to be happy or miserable. It's going to determine that more than any other factor in your life, period, bar none. Yes, there's other things that influence, but this is number one. So get this awareness, no charge at all. There's a table of contents right there. We're going to show it all to you. And so let's talk now about the 9 Iron Rules of Tomassi. Just a shout out to everyone. EC at some point, probably, yeah, we'll see. I know EC is a good guy. Brent, Mike, P-Dubs, Nicholas, keep coming back because we're dropping truth bombs here. We're actually showing you guys things that can help you fix your life. We're not a show where we complain about how terrible women are. It's good to have awareness about the crap and the tricks women pull. I mean, 9 Iron Rules of Tomassi. We're going to go over some of that today. But we're about solutions. We're not about, let's get some outrage here to get some eyeballs. We're all about solutions, helping you guys fix yourselves up level. So let's dive in. Now, most of you guys probably know who Rollo Tomassi is. He's kind of considered the father of the red pill, officially or unofficially. I don't know, unofficial. But he's been doing it for over 20 years. He wrote the book, The Rational Male. It's definitely worth a read. He has the 9 Iron Rules of Tomassi. They are designed to keep men from making fatal mistakes. Rollo Tomassi had, I think it was a cousin or a brother. He had someone close to him, a relative, who ended up committing suicide after his wife divorced him. And Rollo Tomassi himself, I mean, he's all shared this. Oh, yeah. Okay, so EC Smooth right here. I didn't want to say it until I knew EC had committed, but EC is going to do an interview with me. Here he is right here. And yeah, I was, okay, so it was a brother-in-law. So we're going to have EC on the show at some point. Great guy. You know, we're going to talk about his experience and how his inner game transformation. So, and honestly, EC's a cool guy. I told EC that. I'm like, EC, you're just a cool dude. You know, if I was in EC's town, I would totally hang out with EC. I go out for, you know, I go out with him, hang out, because he's a cool dude. Anyways, the Iron Rules of Tomassi. Rollo was in a BPD relationship in his 20s. He's been in a happy marriage for, I don't know, 30 years now, 25, 30 years. But he has had BP relationships. Yeah. If you're watching the show or just texting in, because I know you're working, but I texted you earlier. Just text me back. Let me know. We're on John MLD's show tonight. You can come on. So, so I didn't do the show yesterday, but we're still doing 5 shows this week. Sometimes I get a little, I'm actually working 7 days a week, just so you guys know. I have 3 projects developing, partnered with very successful people, multimillionaires. I got a lot of stuff going on, but I am doing 5 shows this week. So Rollo Tomassi had a brother-in-law commit suicide from a divorce. He was in a BPD relationship in his 20s. And the fact of the matter is, men need to understand how women work. I don't agree with the statement, there's no good women. I do think there are good women out there. But every human on this planet, if they don't, they should have their own interests, goals, and agenda. Because if you don't look out for yourself, no one will. If you're lucky, you might get a mom and dad who put you first. But as an adult, if you don't put yourself first, no one should. That's one of the things I teach. And men, we need to be aware of the reality, not the bull crap, not the sugar and spice and all that's nice, but the reality of how women operate. Now, it's not a bad thing on the whole. Women have evolved for their survival and for the ultimate survival of the human race. That's not a bad thing. But if we go through life not understanding that women have their agenda, as they should, and us men, we should have our own agenda, things we want, looking out for our own self-interest, as we should, because if we don't, no one else will. And because we matter, because we have value, because we're important, we should be looking after ourselves. Well, they're looking after themselves too. And in order to keep from being taken advantage of from many women out there that don't have your best interest in mind, you got to understand a few things. And if you understand how women work, you're going to be able to approach relationships in a way where you get what you want and the woman gets what she wants. And if she's a toxic woman who's going to manipulate, take advantage of you, you're going to be able to spot it and get the hell out of there. But from the beginning, have certain boundaries in place. These boundaries keep you from being taken advantage of. That is ultimately what the 9 Iron Rules of Tomassi are about. To keep you from being one of these guys that is married for 5 or 10 or 20 years. Then the woman, he did his job as a husband for whatever reason, even though he's a good guy, woman divorces him, wrecks the home, big divorce custody battle over the kids, all of that. Tim Costello. Yes, Tim is a mindset coach. He's a certified hypnotherapist. Shout out to Tim, good friend of mine. Known him, man, 18 years now, 19 years. So these 9 iron rules are very important, but there is a big inner game element to a lot of these rules. We want to dive in. And the thing is, if you don't have your inner game in order, even if you know the 9 iron rules, if your inner game is a mess, you're not going to be able to keep the rules, or it's going to be very difficult. So without further ado, let's dive into these 9 iron rules of Tomassi. and see how not all of it is inner game. A lot of it is. These are Rollo's rules, so you don't get in a bad marriage and get zeroed out and end up self-deleting like his brother-in-law did, or his it might be a cousin, I'm not sure. So number one, frame is everything. Always be aware of the subconscious balance of whose frame in which you're operating. Always control the frame, but resist giving the impression that you are. I love how he puts this. Here's what I'll say. A lot of guys are validation seekers, people pleasers. They don't believe in their ability and value. These people, type of guys who don't believe in themselves, don't believe in their ability and value, don't know how to validate themselves, don't know how to approve of themselves, don't know how to feel good on their own about who they are. Those type of guys, which is a large percentage of guys in today's world, in the Western world, those guys, it's almost impossible to hold frame. Why? Because, again, 95% of our behavior is dictated by the subconscious. Holding frame, 95% subconscious. If you have a good inner world, you will naturally hold frame. The problem is in our society, from childhood on up, the men are given messages that lead them to put the women first, put themselves second. If you don't put yourself first, you're not going to be able to hold frame. Putting yourself first does not mean you're never going to take care of anyone else. You're never going to help anyone else. It means at some level, you need to take care of yourself before taking care of anyone else. It means, hey, you know, you're in the jet. They've lost pressure cabin. The air mask come down. Put on your air mask first. Then helps others. That's what it means. If you have an internal world where you feel your value is not as great as that of an attractive woman you want to date, pair bond with, mate with, whatever, your subconscious is going to lead you to give frame to her. Why? Because if you don't know how to value yourself, everyone needs to feel good enough. Many people have this feeling in them, I'm not good enough. That's toxic shame. That's the number one thing I clear subconsciously at a deep root level. I take that out. I put in, yes, you have value just for who you are. You don't need to do or say anything to have this value. You just have it. If you don't have that in you, then people are going to do, men and women, all sorts of things to counteract this feeling I'm not good enough. Some people become drug addicts or alcoholics. You read the seminal work of John Bradshaw. He's an alcoholic turned psychotherapist, had a book, Healing the Shame That Binds You, all the way back in the 1980s or 90s. And he says, at the core of all addiction is toxic shame. Way down at the core, we do all these things to cover it up. You see these men who are simps, beta thirst, people pleasers, validations. You see it in women too. Women become clingy. They become manipulative. They're all trying to get women who are codependent. Codependency, I heard a psychologist call it self-love deficit disorder. So if you feel not good enough, you don't have value down in your core, everyone, that's such a painful emotion. We need to mitigate that somehow. Some people numb out, smoke a lot of weed, drink, porn, whatever, numb it out, video games, whatever. Some guys say, well, I'm not good enough, but if I get validation from a woman, that's going to help me feel good enough, at least for a while. That leads to validation seeking, people pleasing, simping, all that stuff. Guess what? Everyone needs validation. If you need someone else to validate you, that person has power over you. That's what codependency is all about. And if that person has power over you, you are in their frame. You're not in your frame. You're in their frame. You're going to do whatever it takes to get that validation, including compromise who you are. Again, this is a men's show, but I want to emphasize this goes both ways. There are predatory men who do this with women, and there sure are predatory women who do this with men. These women who are BPD, narcissist, sociopath, histrionic, whatever, cluster B disorders, they intentionally seek out guys who they know don't feel good about themselves, who don't know how to validate themselves. They will love bomb these guys, give them this huge drug that the man's been looking for, needing a woman to validate him because he doesn't know how to validate himself. They'll love bomb him, and then they start the abuse. And the guy gives up all his frame and puts up with the abuse. I've had guys come to me and they've been in nightmare relationships for 7 years. Why don't they leave? Same thing with women. You're in a terrible relationship. Why, no kids. Okay. Why don't you leave? Why don't you leave? It's because the perpetrator keeps drip feeding them validation. And if you don't know how to validate yourself, you'll do anything for it. You'll give up frame. You won't make yourself your mental point of origin. And all this incel, beta male thirst, simping, validation seeking people, all of that is the opposite of holding frame. It's you doing anything you can to win this person's favor. And what happens is emotionally healthy women want good, kind men, but it's more important to them to have a strong, successful man. Because in ancient times, hunter-gatherer tribes, a strong, successful man had resources necessary for survival. He could get it or he had it. That's more important than how he treats her. Survival, number one. Having him treat her nice, number two. This is why women want a strong man first. If you hold frame, it's a sign of strength. And guess what? If you hold frame, you actually are strong internally. You hold frame with her, you're going to hold frame with other people. That leads you to not get taken advantage of. It leads you to make yourself your own mental point of origin. I've done shows on that. That's a big Rollo concept. And it makes you say, hey, I'm going to get my resources. I'm going to get my needs met. I'm not going to sacrifice that just to get validation. So, very first Iron Rule of Tomassi, frame is everything. Women will shit test men to, test frame, test the man's internal strength. Several years ago, when I hadn't sorted out my internal issues with my insecurities with women, I knew what a shit test was. And I was actively dating. I got shit tested way more then than I do now. Now it's every now and then a woman will shit test. Most of the time they don't even try because they just, they could tell that they just, look, if a woman knows you're a strong guy, she can just sense it. She's way less likely to shit test. But back then I got shit tested a lot as I was learning game. And I did have these insecurities. I knew what it was. I knew the concept. I knew the proper responses. The woman would shit test me, but then I would have this insecurity in me triggered. Guess what? That's your subconscious. Feeling this insecurity, feeling like all this anxiousness, your emotions, your intuition, your instinct, your anxiousness, anger, all of that is subconscious. And it just overrules the logic. When you get triggered bad enough, your logic goes right out the window and you're just acting according to your emotions if the trigger's strong enough. So I would just fail the shit test. I knew what they were. And then afterwards, it's like, oh my goodness, she shit tested me and I totally failed it. Now my internal world's different because I healed those insecurities. They're gone. They're not in me. A woman shit tests me now and I just don't even care because I'm at my internal world now is, and this is the internal world of many of my clients. I'd rather lose the girl than lose disrespect for myself. That's in my core. If you value yourself, you naturally stand up for yourself. She's like, who is this girl? I have value. Who's this girl to treat me like this? You literally feel that way. And honestly, when your internal world is strong enough, when they shit test you, it's not even a threat. It's like, I was on a date 2-3 weeks ago. This girl was like almost a 10. She was extremely attractive. By the way, if you go to Mexico, if you're a high value man in Mexico, in the United States, 7s and 8s, here, like 8s, 9s, occasionally even 10s, no problem. Anyways, she wore a low-cut dress showing lots of cleavage. She had implants, which is, so, logically, it's ridiculous she would even do this because obviously she wanted me to look at her boobs. Otherwise she wouldn't dress that way and get implants in the first place. But during the night, she literally asked me, are you looking at my boobs? And without blinking, I'm like, yeah, and I'll keep looking at them throughout the night. And I just said it just like that. And I actually kind of laughed because I thought it was funny because she was being absurd. Well, really, she was shit testing. But when you get down your belief in your value, that you do have value, you instinctively behave in a way that is a match for that value. It's automatic. It becomes automatic when you get rid of these insecurities. They shit test you. They say, oh, this, that, the other. Now, I would say there's maybe 10% of its mental model, understanding, okay, I'm the guy in charge. I'm not supposed to defer to her. Yeah, maybe it is 10% that. But when you get your internal world right, holding frame is going to feel natural. A man is meant to be a leader. A man, is meant to be, yeah, I understand there's a spectrum, but when you get your internal, we're on a bell curve of dominance versus, et cetera, whatever. But really 95% of whether you're dominant or passive is going to be learned traits that are in your subconscious. So when you get this down, you just naturally are going to be the leader. You're naturally going to hold frame. If a girl tries to take frame from me now, if I give in, I literally feel like I'm disrespecting myself. So I have like this internal barrier that says, no, I can't do that. Doesn't mean I'm not going to take care of the girl and be benevolent to her. And, honestly, I go on dates and I'll say, hey, I feel like doing this or this, I'll say, which do you prefer? But both choices are mine. I give her the option, but I'm not saying, hey, what do you want to do? Still in my frame. Honestly, I would like to do one or the other. So inner world, frame, Rollo says frame is everything. I'm going to say inner game is everything if you want to have frame and keep frame. I spent a lot of time on this one, but honestly, frame and making yourself your mental point of origin is the foundation of pretty much all the other rules. Iron Rule of Tomassi, never under pain of death, honesty or dishonesty. This number 2, reveal the number of women you slept with or explain any detail of your sexual experiences with them to a current lover. Now, this seems like outer game, like a tactic, and mostly it is, but in my experience with women, this is only going to come up if they ask. And then it's kind of a frame issue because if you really think about it, do you want to discuss this with that girl? If you do, you're really kind of falling into her frame. I'd say 90+% of the time. If this topic comes up, it's because she brought it up. Do you really want to have that discussion with her? I'd say most guys instinctively know, no, it's not good. So if you give in here, you're really giving up your frame because most guys don't want to talk about this. Most guys won't bring this up with women. I'd say it's, in a way, kind of a frame grab from her. And she may honestly want to know this. She may be jealous or whatever. But this is a tactic. You should understand this on a tactical level. But really, as it plays out practically, it's usually a woman being invasive, and the guy is not going to want to share that instinctively. So don't give up your frame. Don't do something you don't want to do. This is a boundary. Enforce that boundary. Okay, we'll keep going. And I guess the tactical thing, how to deal with it, is tell her either you're a virgin or she's how many women have you slept with? You can be like, today. Or you can just say, oh, I'm a virgin. You're the first, and just laugh it off. That's outer game. But honestly, I look at this as she's asking something she shouldn't be asking. It's a boundary violation. Maybe she could justify it if you're talking about a committed relationship. Maybe then she might be able to justify it. Other than that, hell no, it's none of her business. Enforce your frame. I mean, us guys, we know we don't want to share that. Number 3, any woman who makes you wait for sex or by her actions implies she's making you wait for sex, the sex is never worth the wait. So I want to clarify this rule. There are some guys, not most guys, but some guys are like, oh, I want to have a family. I want to, some religious men, sexual purity, all of that. Well, that's not her making you wait. That's you deciding to wait. So if you decide to wait for sex, if you're a religious guy like that, hey, that's cool. there's no implication here you have to have sex with a woman, you know, by the third date, blah, blah, blah. You know, there's nothing wrong with waiting. But if you want it and she's making you wait, in that situation, maybe you're with a super religious girl, but more likely she has an agenda and she doesn't have genuine desire for you. So outside of religious belief, I totally agree with Rollo here. And again, this goes to frame. You know, if this girl isn't a match for you, why are you with her? You know, if you want to wait and she wants to wait, great. But if you don't want to wait, why are you with someone who's not a match for you? I would rather lose the girl than lose respect for myself. So, and I think this plays into this as well. When you value yourself, you're going to be in abundance mindset. If you believe in your value and your ability, then if someone's not a match for you, you're not going to hold into their frame. You're just going to say, hey, I'll find someone who's aligned with my frame. And if for you, having sex by, you know, and Rollo says by the third date, again, you know, it depends on, you know, your beliefs and everything. But if that's what you want, well, go and get a girl that's in line with that. You know, don't give up what you want for a girl whose goals are not aligned with yours. But I'll put an asterisk next to that because some guys do want families. Some guys do want a good girl and they don't just want to sleep around a lot. So I'd say the majority of guys do, though. But, you know. Number 4, never under any circumstances live with a woman you aren't married to or not planning to marry within 6 months. And this is very practical because if you live with a woman, especially in Western society, she has power over you. And if you, being a educated man who also believes in your ability and value, why would you give up your power? My website says you have more power than you know. What I do is I help people truly deep down at the core believe in their ability and value and claim their power and then go after what they want, whatever it might be. You might go after what you want, decide you don't want it. You learn and grow in the process. I think that's awesome. It's not, as long as you're not making like egregiously stupid mistakes, you know. Hey, if you want to, you know, base jump and do very risky activities, you know, if you die, well, you know, that's your fault, right? So don't do stuff that's, you know, don't eat paint as Ryan Stone says it. But this is tactical, but it's also kind of a frame issue as well. Don't give away your power. If you value yourself, you're instinctively not going to want to give away your power. You're instinctively going to be okay with not compromising. And so much of the Iron Rules of Tomassi is women are experts at getting guys to compromise in ways that a guy really shouldn't compromise. So if you believe in your ability and value, you're going to have abundance mindset. You're not going to make these compromises that are not in your best interest. We do need to be aware. Some guys are completely oblivious. They think, oh, I'm going to move in with this girl. It's going to be great. We'll have tons of sex. And so a lot of this is knowledge. Hey, don't do that. Not a good idea. But if you don't have your internal world right, you're going to be making compromises. The woman's going to want this. You won't. You give in because you're not in abundance mindset. You don't value yourself. And death by 1,000 cuts. Rollo talks about that. The betaization of men. Why do men allow themselves to be a beta-ized? Why do men allow these compromises? Well, I'll tell you why they allow the compromises. Because they don't believe in their ability to get the girl they deserve. They don't believe they're worthy of a girl who honors their boundaries, treats them with respect. They don't believe they're good enough for that. They don't believe they're able to get that. And so these men make compromises. And this is all inner game. If you believe in your ability and value, you're not going to have any of these issues. Sometimes compromises are fine. It's like, okay, I'll compromise so I get part of what I want and you get part of what you want. Okay, that's a good compromise. But certain compromises where you give up what you want because she wants something different and you're not getting anything in that compromise, to hell with that. So Okay, Brent Caldwell coming on the show tonight. Appreciate that, Brent. Modern Life Dating going to be on there 9 p.m. Eastern time tonight. And Space Doubt Chris. I guess that's clapping. So thanks, man. All right, we'll keep on going. Iron Rule of Tomassi number 5. This is all frame control. This is tactical advice combined with frame control. Never allow a woman to be in control of birth. So I have a friend who was married, and his wife claimed she was on birth control. She wasn't, and they had an agreement they weren't going to have kids, and he just trusted she was on birth control. She went off the birth control, had a kid, and then 2 years later divorced him. And he actually was a computer programmer, so he hacked her emails, and he saw correspondence back from the time she was emailing her friends and whatnot. He saw correspondence with her back from the time where she went off birth control. She planned it all out. She actually got him to move to a state that he didn't want to go to. He gave into that. He let her have the birth control, didn't wear condoms. They had a kid, and then after she moved to the state that actually had more favorable divorce laws, then she divorced him. He hacked her email and found all of this out after the fact. He couldn't put it in court because then you have to admit that he hacked her email. But it's so when Rollo says never, it's like, yeah, never. You know, if you're married and you don't want to have kids, you know, number one, if you're married, you know, why are you going to marry a woman if you don't want to have kids? Maybe you're like, okay, the first year we won't. We'll get used to living with each other, whatever. Okay. After that, why are you married if you're not having kids? You know, but never allow a woman to be in control of the birth. It's good advice because as we know in the Western world, the woman has the power in relation to that. She has the power to abort the baby, or she has the power to have the baby, and now you're on the hook for child support. She has the power to unilaterally divorce you and get the child support, even if you've done nothing wrong, even if you've held up your end of the marriage contract perfectly, doesn't matter. So, but again, it's just all down to frame combined with some tactical advice. Iron Rule of Tomassi number 6. And I pretty much agree with this. This isn't so much as a inner game issue as it is explaining this. And Rollo had to qualify this statement in the past by saying, I'm never saying a woman won't love a man. I'm saying a woman won't love a man in the way he wants her to love him. Women are utterly incapable of loving a man in the way that a man expects to be loved. A man wants a woman to love him as an emotionally healthy mother would love him, as far as unconditional love. Unconditional love, unsupport. A man wants unconditional love from a woman. A woman loves a man conditionally. Doesn't mean she doesn't love him. A woman can absolutely adore a man. A woman can be physically attracted, sexually attracted to that man. A woman can be completely enamored with a man, can be infatuated with a man. A woman can have genuine bonds and friendships with a man. That's all parts of love. But unconditional love, and this is actually, by the way, the reason the man wants this, it's tied to inner game, believe it or not. Because what happens, I'll explain this to you guys. This is some fundamental stuff I'm going to go into here. When we are born into this world, as children, we instinctively know we cannot survive on our own. We're young, we're small, we're helpless. As babies, as children, we know we don't know how to clothe ourselves. We don't know where to get that. We don't know how, we can't hold a job to feed ourselves. We don't know how to get shelter, protection, all of that. So because of that, children look to their parents for that. We know we need our parents to take care of us. Otherwise, we're going to die. So boys and girls both, number one, we choose to idealize our parents. We choose to believe that they're wise, powerful, strong, because if they are, then they're able to take care of us and we're safe. Children need to feel safe, so we just choose to idealize them. The other option is they're not ideal, which means they may not be able to take care of us, and then we die. That's just so terrible. Kids don't even consider that. We just automatically idealize our mom and our dad. They're wise, powerful, benevolent, and strong. We choose to believe that even when they're not. Number two, we need to feel that our mom and dad unconditionally love us, want us, value us, because if they do love us, want us, value us, they will choose to take care of us. Just because they can take care of us, being ideal does not mean they will want to. They might still leave us even if they're capable of taking care of us. So we, as children, we need unconditional love. Well, guess what? A lot of guys were not loved unconditionally by their mothers. Exhibit A, right here. My mom, very wounded person, very psychologically damaged person, not capable of having compassion or empathy for others, using her kids in order to cover up all the gaping wounds that were in her so she wouldn't have to feel it. And that's why I had manic depression, all that. You can watch my story. It's on another podcast. But if you are a boy and you don't get unconditional love from your mom, you're going to have this trauma in you, this wound. And guess what? You're going to go throughout your life looking for women to love you in that way. Probably about 90% of guys, especially in this Western world, Western society that shits all over men, says that, hey, the American Psychological Association says traditional masculinity is toxic. They don't even say there's good and bad masculinity. They're just like, mainstream masculinity is toxic. That's the message. We get this as kids, or our parents get the message and pass it down to us. So a lot of men are looking to a woman as an adult to love them like their mom. They wanted their mom to love them and didn't get that. And Rollo says here, in this simplicity, it speaks volumes about the condition of men. I'm talking about the condition right here. It actually expresses a pervasive nihilism men must either confront or accept. It's not even a nihilism, honestly. It's just reality. Or be driven insane in denial for the rest of their lives when they fail to come to terms with the disillusionment. How we've evolved, women are biologically weaker than men, and when they're pregnant, it's 9 months. Maybe the first 3 months, they have morning sickness. Other than that, okay, or first 5 months. But after that, their ability to work, gather resources, other stuff, they're pregnant. It's impaired. Because women are physically weaker, because women in pregnancy, and then after the baby's born, they're going to be busy taking care of the baby. So women have biologically evolved to look to a man to provide resources and protection, to take care of her and take care of the baby while she's impaired, being pregnant, or busy taking care of the kids. The man is providing resources. So women have evolved to look to that and say, hey, I need a guy that provides that. I don't think that's bad. I think that's survival-based evolutionary, psychological evolution. But if as a man, you did not get, adequate unconditional love from your mom, you're going to grow up with that wound. You're going to be looking for other women to provide that. It doesn't work. If you heal your core, then you're not going to be looking for women to unconditionally love you to fill the wound in you that your mom left because she didn't unconditionally love you. She abused you, messed you up, whatever. Trust me, I had this in spades, man. I remember thinking, if I could get a good woman to love me, then I'd be good enough. I mean, back in my 20s, I just had this longing in me. This unquenchable, like, it sucked. It sucked. But if you have that in you and you're looking for women to provide that to you, you're giving your power to them. Now they have power over you because they can give that to you or they can take it away. And if they can give it or take it away and you need it, you're going to lose frame in order to keep it. And that's what these predatory women will do. Narcissist BPD. It's like, let me have my way or I'm gone, or I'm going to I'm going to abuse you. I'm going to say you're a bad person and all this stuff that triggers your toxic shame in you. Or you can acquiesce to the woman, these predatory women, and, hopefully get some validation. It just doesn't work. It just doesn't work. Here's a great rule of the universe, a great secret to the human soul. You can give yourself all the love, validation, and approval that you need. I show dudes how to do it all the time. I show women how to do it too. Everyone needs to know this rule. You can give yourself all the love, validation, and approval you need, consciously and subconsciously, and then you don't need it from anyone else. Now you have the power. You don't give away your power to get that because you don't need that from others. When you get in that frame, that mindset deep down, you actually have people treat you better. You actually start getting more love, more validation, more approval. Look at, you go back to high school and like all the confident kids, everyone loved them. They were the popular kids. So they got all the attention. And then the depressed kids, they didn't feel good about themselves. What happened? They got bullied, right? Or treated poorly. So maybe it's weird. Maybe it's not just, but this is how things are. When you give yourself all the love, validation, approval you need, now you're just walking around as a confident person. You don't need anyone else's approval. You can be who you really are because you know the real you has value. The real you is awesome. So you're just authentic and confident naturally. And all of a sudden, you get way more attention from women, and men treat you better too. I had a guy I did a session for, and he told me afterwards, like a few months later, he said before the session, this guy did not feel good about it. He had an abusive mom. And he said before the session, he was in charge of 8 other workers, and he would tell them what to do, and they wouldn't do it. And they would avoid him. After the session, after he got some bona fide confidence in him, realized his ability and value, these people now came to him for advice. Not avoiding him, not ignoring him, but coming to him for advice. So when you get your core right, you're not going to need that unconditional love from women that they are not designed to give. And you will be the type of guy that meets the conditions they need to have in place to love you. Inner game is throughout this. And I see it all the time. Wait until tonight. Brent Caldwell's going to be on the show with MLD. He's gone through the transfer. Brent Caldwell couldn't hold down a job. Now he's making 6 figures. There was 8 tests for his master mechanic. He couldn't pass a single one in 6 years. Did 3 sessions. He passed all 8 in a year and a half. He had this dry spell with women, I don't know, a year or two. He's going to tell you his story tonight. You can go on my channel and be interviewed. Inner game creates alpha males. That's just how it is. This stuff is easy to implement once your inner game is straight. If your inner game is messed up and you don't believe in your ability and value, these iron rules are almost impossible to fully implement. If you don't know how to give yourself validation, if you need others for that, need women for that, you're going to lose frame. You're going to lose out on so much of this. A woman doesn't love me unconditionally, doesn't bother me at all. I love myself unconditionally. Get it? All right. Number 7, it's always time and effort better spent developing new, fresh, prospective women than they'll ever be in attempting to reconstruct a failed relationship. Never root through the trash once the garbage has been dragged to the curb. You get messy, your neighbors see you do it, blah, blah, blah. It's never worth it. Why do guys, after the girl breaks up, why do they spend so much resources trying to get her back? I'll tell you why. Because these guys don't know how to love themselves, approve themselves, validate themselves, and we all need validation. So if they don't know how to give it to themselves, they're like, that was my source of validation, my ex. I need that. If a guy has healthy self-worth, self-esteem, believes in his ability and value, he's like, well, she was great. I miss her, but I'm okay. And then he moves on. But if you can't give yourself that validation, you need it from someone else. And guess what? That girl was that guy's source of validation. That's why he's working so hard to get it back. Get your inner game straight. This isn't even an issue. It's not. Iron rule number 8, always let a woman figure out why she won't have sex with you. Never do it for her. Integral part of the feminine imperative involves keeping women's pride. So this is, again, he's going back to frame. Woman wants to be the selector. And really, honestly, they say women choose men, men choose women. They choose each other. Now, guys who have low sexual market value, maybe they will take any girl. But again, if you believe in your ability and value, that leads you to become a high value man. If you believe in your ability and value, you're going to go after what you want. It's only a matter of time before you get it. You not only have this innate confidence, but you're getting what you want, means you have resources. You are now a prize for a woman. So it's not just low value guy. Yeah, okay, the woman chooses him, except few women will choose him, right? Your high value guy, it really is mutual. If you're super high value, then you're the guy choosing the women, But I don't believe in this. Oh, we don't choose women. Women choose us. Bull crap. Only if you're super low value does that apply. All right. Just frame. Be a high value man, and then you're choosing just as much as her, or maybe even more if you're super high value. Never self-deprecate. Here's the thing. Rule number 9. I used to self-deprecate all the time. And what was going on with me, and I was working at JCPenney, and I was like 21 at the time, going to college. But in the summer break, I was at JCPenney. And I remember I worked with this guy who was actually a really cool guy. And he told me, he's like, dude, why do you put yourself down? Because I put myself down in front of him. And I thought about it. And I was like, you know what? I was raised in an environment where I was constantly put down, criticized. And what I learned as a defense mechanism is it hurts less if I put myself down before they can, before someone else, because I was constantly put down. Defense mechanism. It was also tied to, I didn't feel good about myself. There was a point in my life where I hated myself. I thought I was a bad, evil, sinful person, worthless, absolutely felt worthless. I mean, this was, this is 25, almost 30 years ago. But I was at that point. If your inner game is bad, I ask guys who struggle with toxic shame, how often do you put yourself down? A lot of them do. How often do you praise yourself? How often do you criticize yourself? I ask that to guys in every session. There's way too much self-criticism. Now, Rollo's never self-deprecate, and he's talking about in social situations or with women, etc. And he's talking about here that, listen, a woman wants a guy above her. That's how hypergamy works. If you self-deprecate, you're putting yourself below her. Giving up frame, all this stuff is signs of a man who has lower value in the sexual marketplace. So never self-deprecate, but not even in front of women, just period. I mean, how many guys just put themselves down, period? Even when no one's watching, you criticize yourself when you make a mistake or mess up or you don't do what you felt you should have done. How many of you guys watching this right now do that from time to time? Learn to believe in your ability. Learn to believe you have massive value just for who you are. The belief precedes the success in many occasions. Most of the time, there are some very, psychologically wounded people who say, I feel terrible. I'm going to work super hard, become super successful, then I'll be good enough. That's the Kurt Cobain, Marilyn Monroe, Robin Williams. Damaged, wounded people work really hard, become successful, and it doesn't work. They still feel like trash because they have wounded trauma, subconscious programs. The outer success did not heal that. But for most people, they just feel not good enough and they stay small. That's most people. They have anxiety. They're afraid to take risks. I've been there. Because you have anxiety, you're afraid to take risks. You play it safe. You stay small. If you believe in your ability and value, if you believe I have unconditional value just for who I am, if I make a mistake or fail, it doesn't affect my value. It's just learning and growing. These are specific things I put in people. Those who succeed the most first fail the most because they try the most and they try the hardest things. Those who never fail are on the path of safety, on the path of mediocrity. They're not trying hard things. That's why they never fail. If you believe in your ability and value that you're going to get there sooner or later, if you keep trying, that failure doesn't affect your value, it's just learning and growing. It's a sign you're trying hard things and are therefore on the path of greatness. If you believe that, I did a session for a guy, made $100 million in 1 year, already 9-figure when he came to me. I asked him, how do you feel when you fail? He said, I feel encouraged because I know there's a limited number of failures before every big success. Each failure is a milestone. I'm closer. I feel encouraged. That's why he's 9 figures. So you've seen my other videos, Snoop Dogg saying, I want to thank me for all these things. Arnold Schwarzenegger with the weak guy training him, saying, don't put yourself down, and Arnold complimenting the guy. You've seen this. Don't self-deprecate. Don't put yourself down 99% of the time. Don't put others down. I mean, maybe you got to check people, but it's not really putting them down. It's hey, check yourself. There's no benefit whatsoever, but if you believe you're an awesome person inside, if you believe you have value, it doesn't mean you're super successful yet, but you got the mindset that's going to lead you there. You got the potential. You're naturally not going to self-deprecate. But when I felt like crap about myself, when I was in the worst of my depression, I would do it all the time. Other people are like, why are you putting yourself down? So this is tied. The outer behavior is tied to our subconscious. Carl Jung, father of modern psychotherapy. Until you make your subconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. And all of these people are telling you what to do, and it's good advice. Rollo's advice is amazing advice. But if you don't have your inner world straight, it's going to be almost impossible to follow it. Whereas if your inner world is amazing, you have this unconditional self-love value, all of that, then it's natural. It's easy. I know from experience. I've been on both sides of the coin. I've been on the side that had manic depression, massive toxic shame, constant anxiety, didn't believe in my ability or value. And I've been on the other side's way, and you get your inner world right. It's just you're like, okay, Rollo, thanks for the advice. And then boom, like that, you're doing it. No problem. And a lot of it you're doing anyways without even getting Rollo's advice. You do it naturally. So that's the show for today. We have some comments. Inner game, it's 95%, guys. You still need this knowledge so you know what to do. Inner game gives you the power to do it. And a lot of it, you naturally do it anyways. So more comments. Yep, go ahead and replay, my man. Eston, good to have you here. And spaced out Chris. Yeah, so definitely stop it. And a lot of guys, when they're aware, don't self-deprecate, don't put yourself down. It is both a habit and mental model as well as tied to inner game. A lot of guys can stop it without fixing their inner game. But even though you stop it, it helps if you still have inner game issues that make you feel like how you're expressing when you did self-deprecate yourself. If you're self-deprecating yourself because you're expressing what you feel inside, that you don't have value, you stop it, great. If your inner world's still messed up, fix your inner world too. To stop the bad self-talk, that's like 5-10%. Fixing your inner world is the other 90-95%. So be sure to do both. Good self-talk, fix your inner world. Hypnosis is the number one tool I know of. And it's massively effective. I have 18 in-depth video interviews that are on my channel now. You can go through the live. I interview this guy, that guy. You go to the videos section of my YouTube channel. 18 guys. Guess what? I got 30 written. I got another 10 audio. EC Smooth was on here earlier. We're going to have him on at some point because I changed his core. I changed his inner world. Brent Caldwell on here. Changed his core. Changed his inner world. Tim Costello became a hypnotherapist because he saw me when I was a train mech, and then he met me years later, and he's like, you're totally different. What the hell happened, Ryan? Hypnotherapy. And Tim's like, I got to learn that. And he did, to his credit. So this stuff works. We got the receipts. You guys want this? If you want it, you can get it because you really do. I got to get to the right part here. Because you really do have more power than you know. That's our show. Thank you.